episode. I'm here with Rodolfo, and he is the founder of Fida Finance, bringing decentralization to the industry of insurance. So I'm super excited to have this podcast today. We had actually talked over a month ago where you were sort of, breaking my mind of how insurance usually works and how blockchain can sort of fix a lot of the BS, so to speak, that traditionally happens with traditional insurance markets. So I'm glad to have you on today and learn a little bit more. The first question that I always like to ask every guest that comes on is, what was your Web3 journey of how you got into crypto to now like building your own project?
Oh, wow. So I started a long time ago when I got an article. I think it was either Hacker News or some other developer chat about Bitcoin and the Bitcoin protocol. And I went to a faucet where you would get free Bitcoin um, from the system to try it out. And I thought, well, this is the future. And of course, I had other things to do, but and then I lost my wallet. But the idea stayed in my mind. I remember when Ethereum came out, and a couple of other friends were very into it, but I was skeptical because of the, the way it was done didn't feel scalable or efficient enough. And then I went to a software programming, functional programming conference where Philip Wadler was the um, lead speaker, and he actually talked about Cardano and IOG, and then it clicked, and I was like, okay, this is a better way. This solves the problem of programmability to blockchain in what without making it a cesspool of potential exploits and mistakes for the developers involved. It had a very good balance of features and security with it. So I was immediately hooked, and that was just before the big cycle, right? The big bull market in during COVID, and from there, I've just kept my involvement growing.
Wow, so they were literally just giving Bitcoin out for free in a faucet. How crazy of a time difference that is now. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
curious, back then, I know you said you were kind of concerned with the scalability, and that's where Cardano came into play. But did you have any idea that it would become as big as it is today? Like, did any part of you think to yourself, like, Bitcoin was eventually going to hit 100K, 10 years later? Or were you just kind of thinking, oh,
So oddly enough, I was never into finance per se, and I never thought of it from the monetary perspective. I always was thinking of it from the societal implications it would have. So I never, like, when Ethereum came out and it started to become a lot was like an investment vehicle, right? This is way before the whole pizza thing. I had no idea. I had no expectations of what would happen money wise to things, but I did see, like, okay, this is gonna, like, literally, this is gonna solve voting. This is gonna solve and simplify the the overburdened judicial system and all of these things that are still just almost there. Um, but I'm here now to just put my 2 cents in on one particular industry and see what a a mechanism, a way for us to live and integrate in society with a blockchain behind us could look at in terms of this case of your the risks you take doing your job, right? Insurance, right? The risks you take normally by driving your car or having a car, you want to somehow offset that, and that's what insurance does. It means that if something happens to your car, the as soon as possible, the community or an insurer is going to help you recover whatever damages happened, right? The same for like fire protection, or if something happens to you, the whole point of insurance is that you have a backup and security mechanism to recover quickly or quicker from potential accidents if they do happen. So that's I know I went around the bush. I had no idea about the financial side, but I still see the huge potential that we're only starting to see here and there on how it could change the way we live.
Yeah, 100%. And like, as far as your background, before we get into what Fida Finance is, are you a developer that works in insurance, or like what was sort of your background industry that you were working in?
So I'm a developer that's worked in many different fields. At this point, I've been in marketing, travel, medical systems, automotive. So a lot of places where security and correctness are very important, right? In the automotive industry, if something fails, like you could crash. In the in the medical industry, you could you're dealing with people's lives. So in these industries where um, yeah, the stakes are higher. So this is my first entry into the financial industry, actually, with or this merger of like financial plus insurance as software as the software we write.
Okay, nice. And what exactly are you doing now with Fida Finance? For those that
Awesome.
don't know anything about it.
So Fida is the core engine of transferring risk, right? Of like having. I love the this explanation, this anecdote that Motaz, another Cardano and insurance um, steward, a friend of ours, said that the whole point of insurance is to get someone routing for you. So the way you can see it is that you're going to have someone, you're going to bet with someone that things and get them to align. So you're going to bet that something wrong could happen to you, but then the other people, right, or the insurance companies actually betting that things are going to be okay for you. So you actually get this situation where you align the community's incentives to your success. That's the whole point of insurance. It's like, okay, I'm gonna bet $10 a month that if that something bad might happen to me, and then the insurance company is gonna say, no, um, we accept that bet, and if anything does happen to you, then we're gonna pay you back like this amount so you can recover quickly, right? If you have a, I don't know, a serious illness, right? That you get pneumonia or something, you need to recover, and that'll cost you how much in medical bills and also time off from work, etc. Then the insurance company says, yeah, we got your back, and that way you get a much better incentives. You think about how the medical system works in many places around the world. If you're if you come at it from a pharmaceutical angle or from a purely medical angle, there's no incentive for you to actually be healthy. From the insurance angle, it's exactly the opposite. It's the entire incentive is for you to be healthy, because that way the risks or the likelihood of the payout is is lower. So you actually get insurance makes it so the community starts looking out for itself, and that's the one thing that I really really loved about um, the idea behind Fida, of actually everyone setting things up and aligning incentives so we all succeed.
That's really interesting how you brought up this betting dynamic with insurance because yeah, like as a consumer, if I'm getting car insurance, essentially, I'm betting that I might get into an accident at some point and I don't want to not be able to pay for the other person who got injured or if I got injured or like need to get a new car. So I'm sort of betting that that could happen and I'm paying towards that event. On the other side of things, you have the insurance companies that are like, yeah, based on the data we have, maybe we don't think that'll happen. We're willing to bet this number to kind of on the other side of that. Yeah, we'll cover that. We actually think that this is a really, favorable bet for us to take based on XYZ data. And I guess that's why data is so important with insurance is because if you're a young male that's driving, you're probably going to get into an accident way more and they don't want to, take as much of a bet as someone who's been driving for 40 years. So, how does I guess decentralized insurance sort of change that dynamic.
It it alleviates um, the optimization pressure a bit. So at this point, that's like thousands of years have gone by, and there's a whole bunch of anecdotal information as well as concrete data points that have gotten the insurers of the world to be hyper precise on every word in an insurance contract, and that makes it so they can really, really, really predict, especially at scale, what the return on investment would be, what how they can squeeze more from the insurance premiums you give. And it's gotten to a point where the that original incentive, right, that original concept of the community, right, of others backing your success, is slowly eroded, and you get decentralized again, and you can become a co-owner of the system, and now all of a sudden those counter incentives get ameliorated. They decrease a bit because you're both the person insured and the person giving out the insurance. So you have a dual you have a dual incentive system where now you don't want it to be um, like nitpicky. I'm missing the right word, or to have those like tiny letters that screw you over at the end, or that give you the fact that, well, I'm not insured now. I'm not actually getting insured for the thing that could actually happen to me, right? I've been tricked and complicated, and this comes from a whole bunch of other factors that the insurance market itself is competing for capital with other systems, and it's a long discussion on what's happening. But you get, at the very least, you get this better incentive structure.
Hmm. So you get a so it essentially like what problem are you trying to solve with this? You're solving like I guess like what sort of problems are you solving? You're solving the issue of insurance companies sort of getting to the point where they're taking advantage or like not having all of the details or like actually covering you for what you think you're supposed to be covering or I guess like what's kind of the summary of
The
how this will
core
fix it?
problem the core problem we're solving is the efficiency of the insurance system, right? The rest sort of happens as a side product, right? as an off chance, and we're very very deliberate on how we're solving the problem of efficiency, because what happens with the insurance system is that it's been so specialized that it's actually divided into at least three tiers, right? So the first one is you as a person trying to buy insurance, you go to a regular insurer, right? I don't know, Fiona's health insurance, to give you a fake name. And then when you go to Fiona's health insurance, you want to get health insurance for yourself, and you go through their policy. You agree that you're going to pay them, let's say 10 ADA for a up to 100,000 ADA cover if you ever have a medical situation. So Fiona, who is owner of this insurance company, now needs to show you that if something does happen, that she has those 100,000 ADA available to you, and this locking of collateral, right? This holding of the collateral if, in case of something happens, is really inefficient, because you're now locking, that's 100,000 for one person, but you get 100 people, and you need 10 million. You need to have 10 million ADA somewhere, waiting to be just in case something happens to all of these people. So the traditional insurance system then goes and say, okay, well, fine. Actually, what you're going to do as Fiona, what Fiona can do, is go to a reinsurer and say, look, I have 100 customers that have health insurance with me. I will share some of the premiums they pay if you help me cover. I'll put 40%, so I only need to have 4 million, and you put the other 6 for my health projects. These are the policies I have. This is the numbers I can give you of how things work. And then the reinsurer actually has not just health insurance, but they'll have health, fire, um, car insurance, all variety of insurance systems, and they get to say, okay, so because we have such a diverse portfolio, because we're so big and centralized, we don't have to hold exactly one to one your collateral for something happened to you. So we get to be um, more efficient with the capital we have, and that's in theory. A lot of things happen and have happened, including pretty big um, scandals. And anyway, and they'll just say, okay, so we'll be able to handle, let's say, and I'll use Bermuda law. Let's say we can handle a 1 in a 200 year event. So a black swan week where everybody got sick, and because they got asbestos poisoning from the houses that burned down. And then it's like, so the whole all everything combined, right? And it was like, oh, I need to pay out the health insurance, the fire protection for the house, and the homes and the cars that were also in the driveways. So this, I thought it was a variety of risks, right? That if someone gets sick, then the house and the car are fine, or if something happens to the car, then the house is fine. But no, everything sort of happened together, and you use statistics, and you get to say, well, I'll only keep the capital for those 1 in 200 year events, and that way you get to be more efficient. That means you're only locking in a proportion of the funds. With Fida, what we're doing is that we're doing a twofold or a threefold mechanism for insurers, right? For Fiona Insurance, they get to say they get to do the same thing, right? They can choose a span of how much they will be putting in for as an insurance company. Let's keep the same 40%, the 4 million ADA, but the other 6 million ADA that comes in and FIDA is working with gets to participate in DeFi, right? So let's say a fraction of what we have goes and is earning yield on Liquid protocol. It gets to, and we do it safely, right? We also handle the risk around that, but it also gets to benefit eventually, not in this version, but it also gets to benefit from the same diversity, right? The same fractional reserve as a traditional large reinsurer. And thirdly, the Fida cards themselves become what was once this product of they become tradable NFTs. So something along the veins of the what was once called insurance linked securities. So you get this three prone tier that makes the system more efficient than the traditional insurance segment. So you get same benefits all on blockchain, which means everything is verifiable, including for regulators and the insured. It prevents potential scandals, etc. So that's the key benefit, and everything starts to cascade from there.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just almost in every way a better way of doing it. It's like what blockchain was kind of designed to do is sort of solve these different problems like insurance in a way that's way more verifiable, transparent, efficient, whatever the case is, and decentralized where anyone can get involved in this. Um, uh, what would the process look like for someone, on your platform? Because essentially you're making a platform to help facilitate this. If I'm a user that goes on the platform, what's kind of the workflow of me being able to participate?
So it's two prone. Let's say you are an investor and you want to add insurance policies, or you want to build insurance into your investment portfolio. You go on the platform and you look at all the different insurance companies like Fiona Insurance or what have you. We might have some internal ones as well. And then you look at the reputation, you look at the score, you have an idea of what you're getting into, and you put in ADA or whatever the currency is to back and support that insurance project. You're going to get an ROI, you're going to get a loss ratio, which would be how much of the claims ate away at your premiums, right? And you're now have a diversified portfolio that is, or you've added insurance to a diversified portfolio that is now a little bit disconnected from the regular financial system, right? Everyone's paying for insurance, whether we are in a recession or we are in a very aggressive bull market. So you get this other
The
investment opportunity
stability.
that just behaves different from the rest of the things that's in your portfolio.
Interesting. So they would be able to go on there and let's say you guys had a car insurance policy, they would essentially be able to say, "Hey, I want to invest in this." They'd get a yield on it. Um, and in the event of something happening, how do you guys ensure the payout and also like make sure that they aren't just like faking the claim? Like how do the payouts work?
So the payouts are essentially follow on and with manual approval. So in the basic form, there's the Fiona, right? So Fiona, as an insurance company, she put in the 4 million. So she is already paying from her pocket. And we see that on chain, and we see then we get the opportunity, they file the paperwork, then we get the opportunity to corroborate and confirm what the report is, and we say we will follow on. So we go and say, okay, so you put in of whatever the claim was, let's say it cost you 200,000, then we put 300,000 from the bank. We get to approve that. It additionally supports, and this is something that opens up and is so much nicer with blockchain. It additionally opens up what is called parametric insurance, which is sort of this automated Oracle-driven mechanism of verifying the claims. So let's say you have, and I'm going to go with let's go with earthquakes, because we had a proposal on the Cardano's last fund to do this with the fourth largest insurance group in the world for as a starting location for our Mendoza, Argentina. So you could get earthquake parametric insurance, which is basically you select an area on the globe, right? You select a square, hexagon, whatever, on the globe to say, I want to get this plot of land, which is my farm, maybe a wine grower or something, and I want to get insured against earthquakes happening there, right? It might break the water tubings, it might damage my grapes, etc. Right? If they all shakes too much, they all fall to the ground before time. I couldn't, whatever. So what you do is then you connect an oracle into the system, and instead of having someone manually supply the claim, the oracle is injecting the event of the earthquake from multiple feeds around the world, right? And you have this decentralized corroboration that, in fact, yes, an earthquake happened there, and the oracle injects it, and the smart contract activates, paying you out. No verification, no human error involved there. And those are the two mechanisms that really, or that mechanism really shines on blockchain, because you get the immutable, secure paper trail of everything that happened. And that applies to like climate things, which is in dire need of help. Climate insurance really needs this, but also smaller things like let's say flight protection, right? You can insure your ticket, and because all of this is provided online, it's very easy to take this data in and give you a payout if your flight was delayed or if it was canceled, just automatically.
Interesting. Dude, I honestly find what you're doing really cool. Like, I don't know a ton about the insurance industry. I know sometimes it's an absolute pain in the ass to like go through these claim processes. So, do you think that this is going to be something that ultimately is able to streamline a lot of the headaches that people deal with like not actually getting their money? Because I even think of Florida right now with all the hurricanes they've been getting, in California with all the fires they've been getting. A lot of insurance companies aren't even wanting to insure people in these areas anymore, and or the premiums are so expensive they can't even afford it. So I do find it interesting, like Fida, or at least like this decentralized insurance idea could potentially solve a lot of these issues we've been having.
Yep, that's exactly where we can go, and you get everything sort of aligning and working together, right? Because you get the human aspect connecting again. It's like, okay, so this, we're now providing, because the problem isn't the small insurers across Florida, it's the reinsurers that are denying them the secondary money. So the small insurers just
Mm.
can't do it. And you connect with the small insurers in these areas, and you supply them with the backing capital to meet those insurance demands, and then they on the ground they solve all the logistics of it, and from there the payment for from our end is instantaneous, right? It's essentially um, what takes months takes days. What used to take months now takes days or hours on a platform that just executes smart contracts, right? That just streamlines the whole process. So you get this, and you get people. Okay, yeah, for sure. I actually do want to help provide insurance for the people in California. My mom lives in California, right? That with the traditional system as it exists now, you're too disconnected from it. No one like you need to be very very wealthy or have someone like a handle your family investments, right, to actually be able to invest in insurance, and we re-democratize that as well. So that's definitely a place where this protocol can really really shine.
And what do you think the hardest challenge has been for you trying to build this out? And like what you know, because I mean, what you're tackling is pretty big here. It's not like a degen NFT mint or something like that, right? Like this is your what you're trying to tackle is pretty large scale. So, what's been the challenges for you and your journey, like trying to build this?
Several members of the team have come and gone. Like I'm doing this just from the passion of the 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 view of this better future that we can build for each other. So just keeping the energy, keeping it going has been, I have to admit, has been the hardest part. But at the same time, if that's the hardest part, then it's an easy problem to solve. Um, yeah, if this would have been when I was 24. I've been in the startup scene for a while. If I was 24 without two kids, then I'd be like, this would be so much further along. But the percentage of my energy that this can take still isn't isn't big enough. So like it's all been bootstrapped and self-funded, and even though we've had like really really close opportunities to actually kickstart the whole thing, we've just missed by that little bit, and we're plowing through. We're gonna get the MVP out really soon. So there's the closeout video for Fund 11 that uses a CLI tool, and we're going to now have a full-on web interface. Our founders have already seen, and by founders I mean people who hold the founders NFT. So they've already seen the application, lots of positive feedback there, and eventually it'll kick off. The hardest thing has been to like start the snowball effect.
Yeah, there are so many things that go on trying to run a project and start something up. I mean, especially in Web3, it's super difficult. I don't, that burnout that you said of just like keeping it going, and you have other things going on in your life that are grabbing your attention too. It can be a challenge. And
Yeah, definitely.
like one of my questions with it was what are the next steps? And I know you had mentioned it briefly. You've built out an MVP for this. When can people start, I guess, playing around with this? What's kind of your expected your expected approximate timelines on, some of these things?
So if you're not afraid of using a CLI, right, a command line tool, you can already start playing around with it. It's open source. It's available on GitHub, on our socials. You should find a link to download the app. There's several explainer videos. Even if you go to Catalyst, you'll see all the steps of um, uh, Swavomir explaining how to use that app. But the MVP with a web interface, with everything so much cleaner and more organized, should have been out February, but we're hammering away at it. Um, it should be released in a couple of months, and that'll live in testnet. We'll be able to bring out all the cool things. There's a couple of cool partnerships that we have yet to, or might have been mentioned, but that we're going to use to build out and have actual on mainnet um, insurance products for and from Cardano. So no definite
Okay.
timeline, but we're building 2025, definitely 2025.
That's great. And when it comes to building this, what's been the complicated part with that? It's just been developing all the contracts, or what's been the challenges there?
So with the contracts, it's been it has been uncomplicated. So there's been lots of very great insights from our development team on how to do this efficiently within Cardano. Of course, we started before Icon was out, and
Oh
we're
Lord.
on. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's it has all its paper cuts. It's not the most efficient way to write smart contracts for Cardano by no means today, but it's still doable. We still managed to roll that out. We have a very efficient and clear mechanism where it's just like you can look at the contracts. It's just a few key bits of code that are now composable and reusable in such a way that it's easy to prove them correct. So if you look at something equivalent on EVM chains, it really takes so much more code to do the same thing, and so many ways there are so many ways for a mistake to have a severe uh, impact on what is happening. So just starting with the support for native assets. So I've always been mentioning ADA, but maybe you want to get insured in USDM, right? For something that is that needs to be paid out in dollars, right? Let's say the Florida thing. You need actually to have eliminate the currency risk of, well, if I need to pay to fix the problem in dollars, then I could get a 100,000 policy, 100,000 ADA policy, and then that could be either too little because ADA went down, or too much, and then I'm paying my premiums are paying way more than I should for the amount that I actually need for the problem. So you just go and switch it to USDM. On an EVM chain, you now get the smart contract risk just from the currency itself, right?
Mm.
Instead of having native assets, you're now having to do accounting for this currency yourself. So, like, you could make a mistake just by adding coins to that, and the problems keep compounding as you add more sophistication to the code you're writing. So the EVM is just passing messages across itself to activate different addresses that'll do magic. But in Cardano, right, and the way it is done, you always have um, checks. So smart contracts in Cardano really just are like, is this trans? All they do is they read metadata and they say, is this transaction allowed? Yes or no. So you're always in the position of, okay, so if this is the state of things, then will I allow this transaction? Yes or no? And that's so much simpler to think through than this mutating values and and events that are happening for the EVM chain. That's why there's been so few exploits, and you need that for something that is so risk sensitive like insurance.
Yeah, I mean, this is super complex. Like what you're doing is super complex. And yeah, you have some balls for taking this on. I'll say that. Like this is like a huge. What's kind of been your motivation to build Fida? Like what's driving you when you're kind of going through all these challenges? You had mentioned team changes throughout time, and smart contract difficulties and all the complexities. What's sort of been your motivation to make this happen?
So it's gonna be corny, and I didn't notice it until someone asked me. But so I was brought in, and all the previous teammates were all in the insurance industry. But this time around, I it stuck with me. I think because there's been two times that I've had serious accidents or medical conditions, and both times I didn't have insurance, and the people that saved me, right, that actually made sure I got the medical treatment I needed, were my friends and family. So it was like, well, I need to sort of reproduce this to make it so it's so much easier to have the community like back itself. um, and that kind of has stuck, and I guess I'm doing it because insurance is actually really really important, even though we it's not sexy.
So a lot of it stemmed from really just personal experiences and wanting to almost pay that
Yeah,
forward. And your family was the community that sort of, I don't want to say bailed you out, but helped you out in whatever situation you were in. And you, I guess your vision for FIDA is being able to create a community of people that some are investors that help back things, but also community that can find other insurance options and that can, support these different claims. It's cool.
yeah. And if you think about the environmental thing, right? It's now is the time when we as humans, right, the people in Florida, actually need the insurance, the hurricane insurance, the most, right? Because now it's when it's most uncertain, and the the reinsurers are just finding um, more lucrative investments for their capital instead of backing these things. So let's turn it around. Let's actually make it so insurance works and is for everyone.
And so to tag onto that Florida thing, essentially the reinsurers look at Florida and they say this is too risky of a bet to make.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're not going to back it. So
No,
then the problem is you need that additional capital if you're like a smaller insurance company, because you can't front like all of the 100% of the policy, but they can't actually get any of the reinsurers to do it because it's just too risky of an investment. For them, they're like, why take the risk? Even if we charge a big premium, we might as well put our money into a different market that doesn't have hurricanes or like that doesn't have forest fires. So yeah, you run into this situation where people need insurance, but the people that are like putting the money to back the insurance don't want to back it because it doesn't make sense to for them.
exactly.
And how would it make sense for, I guess, traditional people? Would it like if I wanted to go on and back an insurance company, why would that make sense for me?
So if the first thing is, and this goes back to the one thing that we are fixing, we're making the process itself so much more efficient than that. This now, like we could get a reinsurer to invest in FIDA to invest then in the climate situation in Florida, and have it compete with their alternate investment opportunities. Right, that's what we're doing. We're making it so, yeah, okay, it actually also makes financial sense to make these investments,
Mhm.
because the you can look at the statistics, but a huge percentage, depending on the deals and the way the paths are structured, a huge percentage just gets lost in the cost of transferring the capital. So that just goes away by doing it on blockchain.
Okay, so you're eliminating a lot of the time and extra cost and making it so much more efficient that your goal is basically to make it profitable and for these other reinsurers to come in and invest or whatever the case is, as well as user like everyday users. And
Yes.
and one of kind of my final questions about this is on an adoption standpoint, you're transitioning an entire system, right? How do you plan on, I guess, driving adoption to this? Like, are you reaching out to different businesses like reinsurers and are like, oh, this is a good idea? Are you reaching out to like the small insurance companies? Like, how do you plan on actually getting people to see? Because the product itself is more efficient and should be used. I guess at some point, someone, hopefully Fida, is able to really get the adoption to it. But how do you see the adoption going?
We have a unique sales point, right? The USP, and that is the growing Bitcoin DeFi on Cardano narrative. So we've spoken to insurers and reinsurers, brokers and underwriters from the industry, and we need to get proof points before this comes in. But we already have um, potential investors, right? Groups like family offices that already put in a fraction into insurance, or pension funds that already put a fraction into insurance, that are willing to help. Um, they're willing to work with us to provide capital for these systems. But a key area is providing insurance for people doing um, Bitcoin DeFi outside of Bitcoin, or for people holding Bitcoin to do particular things. So we can actually do insurance, like Bitcoin insurance in Bitcoin, on the native chain. So with a lot less risk than a centralized bridge, right? To allow them the security to use, like, to use their Bitcoin, and we could do it at a cheaper rate than the rest of the market right now. So it's a huge opportunity for both Cardano and Bitcoin holders to provide to get passive income on the Bitcoin they're holding. So that's a very interesting USP that we're building out.
Cool stuff, man. I think that makes a lot of sense. It's exciting to see, on a side note, it's exciting to see some of these Bitcoin integrations coming. I know there's a lot of different teams working on solutions, and yeah, I'm excited to see where some of it is able to go. Um, but yeah, dude, Rodolfo, it has been a pleasure having you on. We're almost at that hour mark. Really, the last question I like asking people that, come on, is where do you hope to see your project in the next few years? In 3 years, 5 years, where do you hope to see Fida?
Well, we should be handling a couple of billion in collateral for multiple insurance opportunities around the world. We should have been making we will be making a dent into climate insurance for different places, and other parametric insurance, which is a lot easier, which is very like purpose built for blockchain to come on board, right? Along with the insurance for the DeFi world, where no one really understands what it means to insure, for example, a a coin that backs a platform. So what happens if, um, let's say I'm a Vi Finance, and what happens if there's a hack on another DEX that you don't control, but you have your Wi-Fi set there, or the same with something like Liquid. What happens if you need insurance for an accident where things get depegged and you get like Oracle depeg, and you get you get liquidated without um, needlessly so. So all of these venues are opportunities for the crypto community to actually insure itself and to provide the safety of and security of, now no, I'm safe, I can use this protocol because I have insurance, I'm insured, and it'll work. So that's what's going to happen in 3 years time.
Heck yeah, dude. Wishing you the best on everything. You're definitely doing something really cool and something that's needed. So keep
Thanks
grinding
to you,
after it,
Jason.
man.
Thanks.
Well, dude, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you to everyone that listened in today as well. Go check out their project, Fida Finance. You said the mainnet, well, they can already do the CLI. So if you're
Yes.
used to that, you can go on their GitHub and check it out. But awesome, man. Well, thank you for coming on. I'll catch you guys
Thank you.
later. Thank you, everyone.
Bye
See
bye.
ya.